So you got in a car crash and your car got hit. You're not hurt, but you're still stuck dealing with insurance forms and rental cars and lowball repair quotes. And you're realizing pretty fast that nobody's going to offer you what you're actually owed. You're still going to end up walking away without really getting back what you had before. This happens a lot across Washington State and everywhere because people are willing to walk away with less than what their claim's worth. A lot of times that's just because they don't know what to push for. I'm Matt Albrecht, a personal injury attorney here in Washington, and in this video I'm going to show you how to document your damages, prove your losses, and push back when the insurance company tries to cut corners. If you don't do these things, then you might end up getting stuck repairing your own vehicle, covering your own repairs, and not really getting paid for the diminished value of your property. Step one is you have to understand what is it exactly that we're talking about for property damage. You need to know that property damage is not just your car being dented or totaled. It covers anything that belonged to you that was damaged in the crash. Of course, that starts with your car, but it can include things inside. Oftentimes that's laptops, child car seats, sunglasses, groceries that got tossed around. In one case, one of my clients had very expensive camera gear and the lenses got damaged because they got thrown across the trunk. That all counts as property damage. So when you're driving home, let's say you get hit by somebody at a red light and your new phone on the passenger seat goes flying forward and gets smashed. The phone is not just something you have to live with. It goes along with any of the other luggage you had or any other pet carriers, anything else that gets damaged. It's the same payment that you're allowed to ask a jury for. That's the fair market value of items destroyed beyond repair or the cost to repair anything that can be repaired. This is one area where people leave money on the table a lot. It's that extra stuff that got busted up. So take a careful inventory and make sure everything that is damaged is documented. The receipts are really important if you have to replace things, including the documentation of what you paid for it in case you have those. You don't need them, but if you have them, keep them to the side because that'll be useful. Now, a lot of times what happens is that an insurance company will tell you, sorry, we don't cover X, Y, Z. Doesn't matter what they're saying. What they're doing is a mistake. They're thinking of what they would cover if it was under their collision or their comprehensive coverage. In this case, if you weren't at fault, you're entitled to everything that a jury would be able to give you under the law. And it doesn't really matter if that's covered or not covered by the insurance company because the defendant owes that money to you. Therefore, the insurance company should be covering it to help keep their insured from getting sued. One of the steps to make sure you've taken care of all this is to record everything and its current state as you're looking at it. So a video is fine, photos are good. If the other driver has information and a driver's license, their insurance, just take a picture of it. It's just as good as writing it down and you can't make any mistakes that way. If you talk to somebody else on the scene and they say who's at fault, ask them if they would mind saying it while you record. It's better than having to track that person down later and figure out what they said or try to remember it yourself. Also, you can write down how the car damage impacts your life. Even though you aren't injured, if you can't get to work, you have to rent a car in order to save your job. If there's inconveniences where you have to take time off work in order to go get your car repaired, that's all something that you should be getting paid for. For example, only take pictures of your bumper, then you might not be able to show that the tools inside it got broken or that the baby carrier, baby stroller got bent. And that extra documentation could be worth hundreds of dollars. It's very hard to go back and take that picture 5-6 days later. The insurance company is probably going to challenge you and claim that you can't prove it was damaged in the car crash. Now, next up, get a trustworthy estimate for your body damage. Don't just go with whoever the insurance company uses. One sneaky little trick that they will use is they will send you to their shop or their adjuster will write your estimate. Well, a lot of times that shop might not actually be willing to complete the repairs for the estimate that the adjuster gives you. And if you take the money up front and then you can't afford to get the car repaired, they're not going to likely give you more money after that. So go get your own estimate. Make sure that it's somebody who you trust because they also might do a terrible job repairing your vehicle. And now you've had it repaired by someone the insurance company told you was good, but they did a bad job. You're stuck with a half-repaired vehicle that you don't think is safe anymore and you don't want to drive and or you can't sell for the price you should get. So when an adjuster gives you a number, make sure you go to your own shop. And if you get a different estimate, push back. At least insist on meeting in the middle. If your car is totaled, remember you're owed the fair market value as the car was the day before the accident. And that includes how you had modified it and improved it. So if you had upgraded your stereo system, if you had nicer tires or wheels on, those are all the way that you had it the day before the crash. You should get it priced with those upgrades. You should be able to get back, in other words, what you lost. So Washington law will be on your side here. You get your fair market value backed up by real world evidence. And that includes sales tax. And if you have to get a car from another place, if they tell you you can find this car, but it's hundreds of miles away and you'd have to have it towed here, well, then ask them what the price would be once it's towed to the place where you had a car, because your car was in that place. One other thing people overlook is called diminished value. A lot of insurance companies overlook it on purpose, and sometimes they just don't realize that it's something that's included in property damage in Washington state. It is a distinct element of damages that even when it's repaired, a vehicle that's been repaired is not worth as much money as one that's never been in a crash. So when the accident history is checked, that vehicle that has a history of crashing will not be worth the same amount as one with no history. So this is an important element you need to ask their investigation to include. If you don't include it, then you're going to be left with a repaired car that's not as valuable as the car you had the day before the crash, and with nobody to pay the difference. In reality, that is an amount of money that is owed to you that a jury could award and that should be paid by the insurance company if they're treating you fairly. Now, sometimes you'll have to hire a professional appraiser to calculate the diminished value, but realistically, your repair shop can write a letter that would estimate this for you. And realistically, the other side should be able to give you an estimate. The insurance company should have their own way to do it. It becomes very important when you have an antique car, a specialty vehicle, or a high-end sports car, for example. It can be an enormous difference. Let's say you had a 6-month-old Audi QRS 8, and now it's been damaged and had $30,000 of repairs done to it. That's not the same car that you could have sold 6 months ago. It's going to be a significant difference in price. This is a big area where insurance companies will try to cut corners if you don't know that this is something that's owed to you. One other area that's a routine dispute is whether or not you can get a rental car while yours is in the shop. Well, that is damages that the at-fault party owes you. A lot of times, though, the insurance company will say, well, that's not covered under their policy. That might be true that it's not covered under your policy or theirs directly, but you're still owed it. And if you end up in a lawsuit, the jury can award it to you. And the bodily injury should be taking care of their client to make sure that they don't end up in front of that same jury. So you should push for it. And then you should remember that it needs to be the least amount of time reasonable. You can't just keep a rental car for a month when it only took 3 days to fix your car. And you can't delay getting your car replaced or delay getting your car repaired and think that you should have that rental for all that time. No, you have to promptly go about getting anything fixed you can and replacing the car if you can't replace it. So the final point on this is that you need to know when should you get a lawyer involved. Many times it's difficult to hire an injury lawyer when you have a property damage only claim. In fact, our firm might not be able to help with all these. That's part of why I'm making this video for you, because I want you to be able to have a good way to address what should be paid to you without you having to hire an attorney. After all, if you hire a contingent fee attorney for $10,000 of damage to your vehicle, then you're probably going to end up paying 30 to 35% for the attorney. You're still going to end up not having enough money to pay for the damages. So I'm hoping that this will help you be able to figure it out on your own, or at least give you some tips that will make sure you're not treated unfairly when you have a property damage only claim. Now, injuries that might come with property damage are oftentimes the substantial part that actually justifies why an attorney will take the case. And then, in many cases, we end up helping with property damage without charging a fee on the property damage portion of your claim. And sometimes just having the lawyer on board will help the insurance company know that you're not the person who should be taken advantage of. But before we finish, I want to go over a few of the common pitfalls. Let's go over a few of the common mistakes people make with these type of insurance damage claims. First, signing off too soon. You might not really know what the full damages are or the hidden damages, and if you sign off on a settlement, you're not going to get more money later. Second, not reporting the accident right away. If you haven't reported the accident, then many times the insurance company is going to deny the claim outright. Next, failing to keep receipts for what you bought or for what you've replaced or repaired. Next, settling for the first offer. Insurance companies expect you to negotiate. A lot of insurance companies have rules that tell the adjuster they can't give you the full amount on the first offer. That sounds wrong. That's how it is. Finally, ignoring the claim because you think it's too small. The little items will add up, and even a small amount of damage to your bumper, you should take it into a repair shop so that they can inspect it, because there might be more damage behind the flexible bumper than you would expect. And that damage might make it so the next crash could cause an injury if you don't repair it. Now, if you want to make sure that you're never caught off guard after a car accident, watch our next video, What Happens If You're Hit by an Uber Driver. It covers the additional steps in this kind of case, and it tells you how you could protect yourself before and after a crash. Don't miss it. It could save you from bigger headaches down the road. See you there.